Welcome to Kindred, hosted by me, Kate, and my sister, Jen. In this podcast, we explore our human relationship to the natural world. In connecting to this planet, we also connect to understanding, compassion, and empathy. How can we see ourselves not as separate or above animals in nature, but a critical and integrated part of an active ecosystem? Through conversations with animal advocates, scientists, conservationists, and many others, we look to inspire a new awareness of how and why we connect to animals and nature in order to repair and restore our relationship to the natural world. Hello, and welcome to the Kindred podcast, the only one you'll ever need, plus 40 other ones that you like too.
But we have the cutest picture, so.
Oh, that is true. I love our artwork.
Our artwork is always like, I'm like, this is so good. Yeah.
Eye catcher. It's really cool.
Really is.
Mm-hmm. By our super talented niece, Lindsay Coffin, who you can find on Instagram, turns out.
That's true.
Speaking of Instagram, my question for you, Jennifer, are you following us on Instagram at The Kindred Pod?
I am.
At The Kindred Pod? Great. Good. Have you visited us on our website?
I did actually after our last recording. I was like, I've never even looked at that. I should probably look at that. And I did. So I have visited the website. I can say that.
Listen. So you went to kindredpodcast.co for all of our show notes and links to our guests.
Well, I first went to thekindredpodcast.co and there was nothing available. So I was like, what the heck? This isn't working. And I was going to call you. And then I actually went to kindredpodcast.co and there you were.
Nailed it. Would you like to email us at thekindredpod@gmail.com with any questions or concerns?
Probably not, but I'm sure some other people would.
You are all welcome. You are all welcome. I also wanted to tell you that you can find us and follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share our podcast with your friend, family, and coworker.
And please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, please.
Yep, and you just go boop and it hits all 5.
You just get all those pretty stars to light up. It's fun. Yeah.
It's so fun. It's very satisfying. It takes about 2.5 seconds. You just scroll to the bottom and boop, hit the 5 stars.
Real fast.
So and quick. You could even just leave a review for an extra 5 seconds. It's like free. It's free to do it. We don't charge you to leave us a review. So it's so easy. It's so easy.
It can be so short. You can say, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Best podcast ever. These are some suggestions if you're feeling like you don't know what to write.
Tell your one friend, tell your one coworker.
Exactly.
One at a time. So yes, today we are speaking with Meaghan Garrahan, a wildlife photographer in the Massachusetts and Cape Cod area, which we love, don't we?
Certainly do. Yes.
Love that area. And it's so beautiful and has a lot of wildlife, turns out. And Meaghan has caught our eye for a few reasons. Her work is exceptional, and her images hold an attention to detail and a mood that creates like an instant wow effect.
So true.
Yeah. And the other thing I love about her work is her reasons why she has become a wildlife photographer, which she talks about in our conversation, obviously. But like what I was really struck by was the fact that she's only been pursuing this since the pandemic, which was kind of her inspiration. I mean,
right.
She needed to connect to the natural world for her mental health. And this was her way. It's actually almost annoying how fast she has become this good. Like, oh, wow, you've really been doing this since 2019, 2020?
Well, to make you feel better, she was a photographer prior to that. So it's she knew what she was doing in that department.
Yes. But this is like,
but yes, she's her, I really, really, really mean it. Go check out her pictures. I mean, they're really...
And actually, go check them out. Go get on Instagram right now. If you go while we're talking, go to her Instagram account at I'll spell it for you. It's Meaghan, but it's Meaghan, so that when we're talking, you can see what we're talking about. And when I ask her about the baby fox watching the sunset,
oh my gosh, you will not be disappointed. It's amazing.
Made me want to cry. Well, made me want to cry. It's so damn sweet. So yeah, check out her Instagram right now, and let's go talk to Meaghan Garrahan, our new favorite wildlife photographer. See you at the takeaway. Meaghan, welcome to Kindred, and thank you so much for joining us today. If you could introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. My name is Meaghan, and I am a wildlife photographer based in Massachusetts.
Yeah, one of our favorite areas, my sister and I. So this is going to be extra fun to speak with you. So Meaghan, you are not only a wildlife photographer, but also a wedding and portrait photographer. And I feel like when I see images of wedding photos or family photos, it's so much about that person's private life. And often those images that you take as a photographer are only for and about them. Those photos are theirs, which of course is precisely the point, right? Sure. But when it's wildlife, I feel like it's a beautiful moment that you've had, a very human moment in nature, with nature, that you can share with us, and we connect to that. So I'm curious what draws you and connects you to wildlife photography specifically.
Yeah, I think, because of all the weddings I shoot and also my other full-time job, which is working in luxury fashion, I'm kind of used to this whole world of things being super structured and very polished and perfect and planned and curated. There are very few moments in both of those worlds that anything kind of unexpected can truly happen. I mean, maybe every now and then, but nothing crazy. Right. I think the realness and the rawness of wildlife is what drew me to it initially. I think the chance of anything happening and something incredible happening, and just the fact that nothing is planned. Wildlife is just kind of doing their thing. They're not putting on any airs for anybody. They're not posing. Yeah. They just are. They're just existing. And I think the kind of messiness and the rawness of that, and it truly is, it's wild. And I guess I crave that for some sort of balance in my life. I think I'd probably lose my mind if I didn't have that to kind of counter the very polished other life that I have.
I get that.
That's so really, that makes total sense. And also not only just spontaneous, but you have to be so present in that, like you're completely in that moment, because if you're not, you miss it, right? So
100%.
Yeah, which is we crave that. We crave things that force us to be present, I think.
Absolutely. And that's another aspect of it as well. I was a dancer prior to this. I was a professional dancer, and I think dancing was probably the only other time that I was truly present. And for a while I struggled because I stopped dancing in my mid 30s, more like my late 20s. I really stopped dancing, but I kind of struggled to find something where I could find that same sense of being present, focused on my surroundings and not in my head. So I think when I started doing wildlife photography, I realized, oh my God, I found it again. And it's amazing. It's truly, for me, the only time that I'm not in my head. I'm like super focused on my surroundings, the sounds, the sights, the smells, the everything. And it's wonderful. It's super therapeutic for me. And I want everyone to experience that. I'm, someone who's a pretty highly anxious person, and this has been the best therapy. And that's the selfish reason for doing wildlife photography. I also hopefully can spread some awareness and help these species thrive. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you talking about unpredictability, being able to be in the present moment and how anything can happen. I wanted to step back just for a minute, behind the camera. and have you give us a bit of a day in the life, because long before you take these shots, there is a lot that goes into getting these images, right? I mean, what does it take for you to be in the right place at the right time?
Absolutely. I think I spend a lot of my time doing some deep diving on the internet. I spend hours researching certain platforms. There's eBird. There's some other wildlife platforms that people kind of can post certain sightings and where they were. I've spent countless hours looking up den sites and nest sites from past years, sometimes like 10 to 20 years ago, because often animals will re-den or re-nest in the same areas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. Owls specifically will re-nest in the same nest if they're able to. They'll do that for all of their mating years, and foxes are similar with their dens as well. So right. I've spent a lot of time researching and then going out there and looking for prints, looking for droppings. Definitely, not everyone's cup of tea to spend their days off walking around looking for poop on the ground. It's fun for me. So, and some days are more like scouting days where I'm really just scouting for locations. And then it's sort of like a scavenger hunt. You're gaining clues. You're out there with all your senses trying to just hone in on where you can find these animals. And then you usually narrow it down to an area. You go and you wait. Sometimes you wait a long time. Sometimes you see nothing. And you have to kind of be prepared for that, because there are going to be many times you see absolutely nothing, and you have to be okay with that. And for me, definitely, I think the chance of seeing something amazing will always outweigh the chance of seeing nothing at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's most wildlife photographers, and that's what keeps them going back, and that's what motivates them. Because those few moments that you see something are extraordinary and make it all worth it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you have the image that you can look at for the rest of your life. So yeah, a lot of research, and then it's really just checking the weather, getting the gear on that you need, and packing I have a fanny pack that I bring. It has everything I need in it.
Right.
I have snacks in there. I have extra batteries, cards, tissues. Right. I have pepper spray. But basically I need my fanny pack, my camera, and I'm out the door, and that's it.
Yeah. And I think there's two things, right? You have to be prepared, not just with your gear, but with your snacks, and you have to put all this time into it. And you have to really love being out in the landscape in all kinds of weather, right? If you don't like rain, well, this might not be for you. If you don't like the beating sun, and then what's your success rate of getting that shot that you're kind of waiting to present itself after all of this work? I mean, you are like a guru of present time, and you know what I mean? There's a lot that you can get or not get.
And it's, for some people, it can be as easy as showing up to a wildlife refuge and going where the crowd is. I definitely enjoy the solitude of wildlife photography, so I tend to not love going to the really crowded places. And that's why I spend so much time scouting locations, because I really love the solitude. And I think there's different types of wildlife photographers. Some people really like the social aspect of it, and I have loved the community I found, and every now and then running into other humans is unavoidable.
For sure.
But I really love the solitude. I don't know what that says about me, but I will usually do whatever it takes to have my experiences be just me, maybe one other person, but usually I'd say 95% of the time it's just me. And I don't know why those moments feel more special.
I also was wondering, when you said that, I feel like it would increase your chances of seeing something if you're by yourself too.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people underestimate that. I think most people, I think when they go out, especially maybe in a forest or in the wilderness, are a little more fearful of being alone. And maybe I should be more fearful, to be honest with you. I'm just not. I actually feel, I think, most at peace and most calm when I'm out somewhere alone. But yeah, a lot of people would get bored immediately. They need to talk to other people. And I get that, but I'm never bored. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's the perfect job for you. It seems like it's the perfect thing for you because you love everything about it.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you too, when you said pepper spray, I was wondering, do you ever feel like, ooh, am I putting myself in do you ever felt like you're in a dangerous situation?
I try to choose areas that I am familiar enough with that I never wander off too far. I mean, thank God for Google Maps, first of all. I don't know what people did before that.
Yeah.
But even if I lose service or something, I try to remain in areas that I can remember how to get back to my car or wherever. In terms of like being scared of other humans that might be a threat, every now and then someone will pass me on a trail and I'll get that feeling. And I've actually, there's one spot I go to a lot that I almost never see any other human. And there was one time I ran into a family that was there were like 5 kids and a mom and dad, and they saw me and they were like, "Oh my God, you're out here all alone? Like, do you carry? Are you carrying?" And I was like, "Huh? What are you talking about?"
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, sometimes I bring pepper spray." I don't think I fully realized what she was saying.
Right.
But these stories do come out about women being attacked, and it's terrifying. As I said, maybe I should be more fearful. There's something in me though that just trusts the journey.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is so naive.
and I think that that's definitely part of being, a woman in wildlife photography for sure. That's a really good point, Jen, and just something that you do actually need to be conscious of.
Absolutely.
So just in terms of where you're located, you are in the Massachusetts area, but you photograph a lot on Cape Cod, which is a favorite spot in the world for me and my sister.
Yes.
You also focus on some of our favorite animals like foxes and what I call Cape coyotes. I don't know what they're actually called, and owls. There's one image among many that you capture so clearly, and that's a young fox watching a sunset. It's so damn sweet, and an image that like we as humans can relate to immediately. So who are some of your favorite animals to photograph and why?
Honestly, yeah, red foxes, hands down. I think from a purely aesthetic standpoint,
Yeah.
Yeah.
their fur, the contrast of that color in most landscapes is just stunning. Most animals are more camouflaged. Not to say they're any less beautiful, but for me, there's something about the color that the way that it usually contrasts with any landscape is just so beautiful. Everything about them. I'm obsessed with foxes.
I mean, they're beautiful animals. I mean, they're
stunning.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Their color is so rich.
Yeah.
I had never, I knew they were here. I had never seen one in the wild, I think, until a few years ago. I actually the first fox I ever saw in person was at a Massachusetts Audubon Center here. They had two rescued foxes that were living in an outdoor enclosure. And I didn't know they had them. And I was just randomly there one day and I saw them. It was a winter day. It was in the snow and they just happened to be out and about. These 2 foxes, I think they were so cute. One had an eye injury and one had a leg, or it actually was missing a tail. And I just absolutely, I could have dropped to the floor. I was mesmerized. I think my boyfriend has a video of me absolutely freaking out.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. There's something about them. It's their playfulness. They're so curious. They're so adorable. They're very similar, obviously, to our pets at home, our dogs and cats. I know that they're canines, but there's something about them that's very feline to me as well.
Yes, I agree with
yeah,
you.
I don't know what it is. It's like they're cat dogs to me. I don't.
Yeah.
I'll argue
they jump a lot. Like they're very they're springier than most dogs. Do you know what I mean? They jump around.
And it's long tail, maybe. I don't know what it is, but growing up a cat person, there's something feline about them. I don't know, but yeah, gosh, I just love them. And then so from there, I was like, it was my goal to find one and photograph one in the wild. And I think the first fox I ever did photograph in the wild was on Cape Cod. At a pretty well-known spot on Cape Cod, and a friend had mentioned he saw a fox recently at this spot, and he's like, "You should go. I bet it'd be out." And I went, not expecting to see anything, and this fox walked right up to me, which unfortunately meant it was probably habituated by people feeding it, which is a whole issue on Cape Cod. But needless to say, I just was jaw to the floor, just so excited. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. in wildlife, because I had never seen a fox in the wild, and this thing just walked right up to me. It was a young fox. I think it was probably a few months old, and it was tiny.
Wow.
And then I think I went back the next summer and actually had an experience with a whole family of foxes that was at the same spot. And I think they had like 5 kits that I waited one day. I think I waited hours. Me and one other photographer sat for hours, and the whole family came out and played for like 2 hours in front of us. And it was absolutely incredible. At that time, I think that the beach plums or the beach roses were blooming. And so I have all these images of them with the beach roses as a backdrop. And God, I could pinch myself, and I couldn't believe it was happening. All these, it was so funny too. And I always think that everyone would be just as excited, but a couple tourists would drive by and pull down their window. And I thought they were going to say like, "Oh my God, can you believe all these foxes running around?" And instead they'd be like, "Do you have directions to we're trying to see the lighthouse. Can you tell us where to get there?" Meanwhile, fox babies running at my heels, just literally jumping at my, and I'm like, "Do you not see what's happening right now? Why would you want to go anywhere else?" And they're like, "Oh, thank you." And they drive away.
Well, it's interesting how you talk about, how foxes really pop, compared to the landscape. And it's interesting though, another thing I love about your photography though, is when you photograph the coyotes, how you can see how they blend so beautifully into the natural landscape and why they look the way they do, in contrast to the foxes. But those, I guess we would call them maybe primrose. The roses, they bring out the fox color, and you do photograph them so beautifully. The other thing I love about your photography is, Jen and I were commenting about how some of your images almost look like paintings. Like you have one of a bald eagle coming out of the mist. I don't know how you took this photograph, but it's so mystical and beautiful, and you photograph the details so beautifully.
Yeah, I think I don't know why I'm not a dramatic person in real life, but I love drama in photos. I think I'd probably look for moments that are evoking some kind of emotion. I don't know why that is, but for me, at least, it's more gripping. It's more visually arresting to see something that evokes some sort of emotion or drama. I do love photographing in the more dramatic weather as well, like fog and mist. Like that are my absolute favorite settings to photograph in.
Yes.
I actually like sunny days like today. I'm like, I don't even want to be out there. It's
not worth it.
It's not.
Yeah.
So I gravitate toward that, the drama.
I think too, like, I think that your birds of prey that you have, all of them, just the detail that we can see, that even if I see a hawk, or we do have a couple of eagles around here, I can't see that level of detail with my naked eye or even with a pair of binoculars. So the fact that I get to actually study how the precision of the beauty of their feathers.
Jen, you are so right. That is such a critical part of wildlife photography that I haven't even really come from that perspective before, Jen, but it's so perfect where we get to just sit there with an animal that we might see every day in our lives too, but we don't get the chance to deconstruct it, to really get the fine details. And that's one of the reasons we're so grateful for people like you doing this kind of work, because we do get to delve into that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I spend a lot of time even just zooming in on some of my photos to see those details. And that's what's amazing about some of the wildlife lenses. The one I currently have is incredible. The detail it can capture from so far away.
Yeah.
It's the technology behind, I will never understand. It's unbelievable. Even when I think that I'm like, oh, it's too far, I'm never going to be able to see the detail. I get home and zoom in and I'm like, oh my God, it's so crystal clear. It's stunning. And then it's so cool too, to just see into with birds of prey and birds in general, their feathers, they serve, every feather serves a purpose. And to be able to zoom in and see the layers of feathers and and why they have them and why they're this color, why they're this shape. It's amazing. And I know that, ornithologists and biologists probably rely on a lot of these photos to kind of figure out certain things. There's me trying to make it scientific.
Give them access to that too. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it gives them access. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, you're using, like, it's interesting because you're saying some of your some of the photography you can get can be arresting, and even just what you can see, and it makes me think about what are you trying to convey through your photography? Like, what are you sharing with us other than just what we're talking about, like interesting or beautiful images?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, some of it is purely aesthetic, just art for art's sake, if you will, like not a deeper meaning behind it. But I really, it's just awareness. It truly is. For me, I went so long in my life not knowing half the species that existed, especially in Massachusetts, a place not really known for wildlife.
Mm.
And still I talk to people every day that have no idea that we have bobcats, no idea that even owls. And I went most of my life not knowing we had owls, which makes me sad. I'm like, wait a minute, where were my parents on that one? They should have been educating me.
You have a lot of different kinds of owls. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
So many species. It's incredible. And it's really just like the awareness that this whole world exists around us. There's so much life happening around us as we go about our days. And I think, me taking this up during the pandemic was especially therapeutic, because it was like our world was kind of crashing in, and yet wildlife carried on. And I found that so therapeutic, and just gave me such peace to just be out there focusing on this other world that was going on, that was unrelated to the drama and chaos in our world. And that's still one of my favorite parts of wildlife photography. But yeah, I mean, the images that I share, I guess I just want to give that same sense of wonder and curiosity into our environment and help people interact with our world in a different way. And because that's what it's done for me. And I just think it's the best thing. And I think everyone could benefit from being more aware and more interactive with our world.
And when you and I had talked earlier, you had said something I really loved. You said you were conveying the human side of wildlife. And I loved that. And the you were talking about how what the look that wildlife holds in their eyes, and how we can relate to that. But the human side of wildlife, I'd never heard it put that way, and I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah, it really is just, that they have, I don't want to say, they have the same feelings as us, and the same, because we don't know that. No one can talk to animals. No one knows what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And that's that's half the mystery and why we're so fascinated by them. But, when you see animals taking care of their offspring at a nest site or at a den, you just gain this immense respect for them, especially to see the struggles and the challenges they face just trying to survive and trying to have their offspring survive. It's just, we will never know that struggle. I think for me, it gives that perspective of how lucky we truly are as human beings, to have what we have. And
absolutely. Well, and talking about these intimate moments that you're witnessing and that you're sharing with us, I wanted to talk about two different aspects of photographing wildlife. One I'll call objectivity, and the other is efficacy of your work. And because it must be an emotional experience at times, what you witness in the wild, and and it's hard to stay out of the way. At the same time, you don't want to interfere. So what are the boundaries you need to take care of yourself and the animals you are encountering? Like, how do you stay objective and non-disruptive?
It's a really important, and that's an ongoing process for me. Still being, relatively new at this. I'm always trying to be better. But it's really just listening to your gut and truly, truly knowing when to step away. I think we all get that inkling as wildlife photographers, like, oh, maybe, like, there's always that feeling if we're getting too close or we're doing something that might be making them uncomfortable or stressed out. If we have even an inkling of that feeling, you have to walk away. And I think there's no shot that's worth jeopardizing the safety of an animal, period.
Right.
And that's something that I've had to learn. I think in the beginning too, you're just super excited. You don't know all the ethics behind wildlife photography. You just are so thrilled to be able to capture these things for the first time with your new lens or whatever it is. But I think you eventually come into a few situations where you're like, something seems wrong here. I feel like we shouldn't be here, or I shouldn't be here. And a lot of times you're like, oh, but I could get this insanely awesome shot if I just took a few steps forward. Yeah. And I think I've learned, and maybe I'd be maybe I'd have gotten better images at this point if I hadn't had this feeling, but I just I can't ever feel like my actions might inadvertently jeopardize the well-being of an animal. So I would much rather just sacrifice the shot. And this happens all the time. I was out the other day waiting behind a tree near a fox den, and I waited hours. The fox finally came out, and I couldn't get a shot because I would have had to stress the fox out, who likely has babies. So I didn't even click my camera once, and I walked and I left, and I was like, well, there's my whole day. But at least I walked away knowing that the fox was there, that he's safe, or he or she, and that I didn't hopefully cause any extra stress to them that could cause them to abandon the nest and then put their babies at risk of a predator.
That's right.
And that happens often.
Yeah, and it makes me think of like what wildlife is offering us without us asking their permission. And we've seen them so objectively, so extremely objectively, actually, that we've forgotten that they have millions of years of experience. They've been here a lot longer than we have, chances are, and just sort of approaching it in that way of they're giving something to you that you don't actually necessarily deserve and have actually even asked for.
That's the best way to put it. I just exactly what you just said. They know more than we do. There's instances where there's this one swan nest, for example, that is behind my work, and it's so close to the parking lot you can reach out and touch it. And this will be my 4th year following the nest, and it's amazing and it's beautiful. It can be incredibly heartbreaking as well, because this is actually the 4th year I'll be following them. The 3 years prior, none of their cygnets have made it. Yeah. I think the longest is like 2 months, I want to say.
And cygnets are their babies.
Baby swans, yes, baby swans. So they're here's a little anecdote that relates to that story. So we're watching the cygnets hatch, and there are, I think, 8 baby swans that hatched, and one of them we can notice that one of the parent swans is sort of is stepping on it. And at first I'm like, oh no, it got caught under his foot. And then I noticed it again. It's stepping on it. And then we noticed that this swan, something seems off with it. It's not as active as the other ones. And then we noticed that the parent kind of starts to put it toward the edge of the nest. And then I'm realizing what's happening is the parents know that this baby will not survive. So they're trying to, I guess, quicken the process, we will never understand exactly why they're doing what they're doing, but you have to at least know that they have knowledge we will never have, and they're doing this for the best.
Yes.
And I was standing there with a group of people, and one of the women wanted to, and we all wanted to save the poor thing. Of course we did. And she actually she stepped into the water, and she was going to go over and try to get the baby to put it back in the nest. And we all kind of had to say, at this point, we know they're intentionally doing whatever they're doing. We have to just let nature take its course. And there's been several times where that's happened. And it's so hard. It is one of the hardest things to stand back and say, okay, if we weren't here, this is how this would carry on. And they know what's best. Yep. So we have to stand back in those moments and say, okay, we're not meant to be here. We're lucky that we're here and we're able to watch this. It's amazing, but we can't intervene unless it's necessary, unless a baby animal is orphaned, and they have no parent to take care of them who knows better. Right. Of course, that's when you're going to intervene. Right. But if the parent is actually taking these steps, we have to assume they know more than us and they're doing this for the best. And it can be so heartbreaking.
It's very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's a great example of the damage that could be done to the whole nest if a human is so subjectively, emotionally involved. Everything has to live. Nobody can die. And nothing,
Right.
everyone has to survive. That's not how nature works. And
No.
it never would, it shouldn't. And you are absolutely right to let nature take its course. And that's, it is emotional, it is hard, but it's really critical to understand that that little baby also knows that nature needs to take its course. It's all the way it's meant to be.
Yes.
Yeah, and it can jeopardize the well-being of the entire group if one is holding them back, so to
That's
speak.
right.
100%. And in that moment, it's funny you say that because I could tell that the parents were trying to get the cygnets to take their first swim, but the one was not physically able. It was, you could tell for whatever reason. And, that's why they have so many. That's why there's 8 eggs. It's so that maybe one can survive. They know, I think the parents intuitively know that one or some of them will not be healthy enough to make it. So I could tell that they were like, they had to continue on with the process for these other babies to thrive, hopefully. And they knew there's a lot of, you have to learn to compartmentalize when you're a wildlife photographer too, because you see so much that and I have emotions and I will sometimes cry when I see these things. I'm only human, but I have learned in my few years of doing this, I have learned to start compartmentalizing.
So our last question is the question we ask all our guests. Why do you think this is an important conversation? And how does, your wildlife photography better connect us to animals in the natural world? And just what new perspective or awareness can we gain?
Yeah, I mean, that totally goes along with what I spoke on before about just the awareness in general. I think we're so damn spoiled and lucky as humans. I know struggle exists in places, and I don't want to undermine that, but I think in comparison to what wildlife faces in order to just survive, we could never comprehend. So I personally just want wildlife to continue to thrive and grow. I am so happy of the work that's being done in conservation.
Well, and I love what you're saying just about, it's just about really like, what you do, how can it connect us to that heart space? And, you love what you do, obviously. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can get from photography is connecting to something like Jen and we were saying early. We don't get to sit and meditate on these beautiful animals unless we get to see the work you're doing.
It's little actions that make huge differences. So whether it's a photo that someone is intrigued by of mine that then leads them to do some research on a species that then leads them to realize that these species are out at dusk and dawn and unfortunately get hit by cars the most at that time, and maybe to slow down and be more aware when we're driving at dusk and dawn. That's one thing that I think is really important. Whether it's rodenticides and the effects that they have. A lot of people discover that through just their interest in wildlife photography. And that has huge effects on the population of wildlife. And I'm so excited to see where that's going in terms of hopefully banning a lot of the really dangerous rodenticides.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, just helping in any way I can. I know that photographers we're not conservationists, we're not scientists. Well, some of us are maybe, but I think that we are, in a way, because we use social media and we have these platforms that are the most widespread to the public, maybe more so than a journal or a study that gets published in a journal somewhere, that we can help the general public be aware of these crucial ways that we can help animals thrive.
Absolutely. And you give a face to the journals, right?
Yeah.
And the science is so important, and what people are writing, the research, and then you let us see, like you were talking about, like the look of the eye, that these animals hold, and the human side of wildlife. And you bring that heart into another very sometimes sciencey world. And I think you do contribute to conservation, and I think you do contribute to science. And it's a beautiful thing.
And bring more people, probably bring more people into the awareness too, because the visual is a great way to capture people's interest, so
absolutely. In this day and age, we're all just scrolling on our phones. So if someone is stopped by a photo of an eagle or a bobcat, that sparks their interest and then can lead to this further interest and gain appreciation. That's all I can ask for.
So Meaghan, where can we find your work and follow you?
So I'm on Instagram as Meaghan, which is at Meagahan. And that's actually my first and last name combined, which is really funny because I think a lot of people think I just spell Meaghan in the most complicated, strange way that there is. It's not. It's my first name, or my first name's Meaghan, and then my last name, Garrahan. It's Meaghan. So that's my Instagram handle. My website is meaghangarrahan.com. And from there, I think you can find the link to my print shop, which is through Darkroom.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right. So we can get on your website, and we will have all of your links in our show notes, everyone. So I would urge you to get on Instagram, to follow Meaghan Garrahan, and just see some really beautifully expressed moments that you have had in the wild. And we're really lucky to have come across your work. And thank you so much for joining us today and just sharing your perspective. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Truly. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Takeaway. Thanks again for Meaghan for chatting with us all about her wildlife photography and her therapy, and just about how, this connection for her is about mental health. And also it just seemed like, so supportive and healing through the time of the pandemic, which we can so all relate to. And I just found her very accessible and relatable. I think at a lot of levels, because, we started our podcast in the pandemic as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right. For similar reasons. I mean, you just needed an outlet for, right. So that's cool that it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And just the fact that, how good she's become, and specifically wildlife photography, in just such a short amount of time. And you can just feel how much it means to her. And, I think my biggest takeaway for Meaghan is that, to me, she is kindred. She is kindred goals. She's literally what we're talking about. She's taking what felt like a disconnect, and through animals and nature has become more connected to herself.
Yeah.
And then she's connecting to other people through her photography. And then she's reconnecting us to animals and nature through her photography.
Absolutely. Right. Exactly. It's just she's benefiting, the animals are benefiting, we're benefiting. It's just, it checks all the boxes, I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it doesn't mean we all need to become wildlife photographers or podcasters. It just means that, as adults, she said she's in her mid-30s. I'm also in my mid-30s. And, don't laugh.
Sorry.
But that you can do this as adults. You can find a deep connection. You don't have to be raised on a farm as a child to connect to, or I don't know, mountain climbing in Colorado and have outdoorsy parents. We can do this stuff as adults.
Or you don't have to have a biology degree or a master's in physiology. I don't know. It just is to me, it's that too. It's accessible to you. And not only that, but when you do what you love, it works for everybody. That's what I love about it too. She's doing her perfectly. And that's why it resonates, because she found what she was meant to be doing. You know what I mean? And because she loves it, and that translates. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's also very talented. I mean, but I feel like even if she wasn't quite as talented, I honestly think we've all had that experience. When someone talks to you about the thing they love, you get filled up with that enthusiasm and you can feel it. So I think that's part of the reason it works so well.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you can feel how deeply connected to animals she is now. And like the fact that she never even seen a fox before she started the wildlife photography. And then now, of course, she's obsessed with them, as are we.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like she's such a kindred spirit, actually. And I just can relate to her on so many levels. And she is an inspiration. Again, I don't want to do wildlife photography because I would throw my camera out the window and stomp on it and hate it. But do what works for you. And I think it was a lovely conversation, and I appreciate her, talking with us. This is her first podcast, so may she have many more.
Yeah, it was really inspiring, and she's just I don't know, the conversation was so easy, and she's very accessible, I guess is the word I would say.
Very accessible.
And it was cool for me, just on a personal note, having driven around parts of the Cape and just with all this open space, I'm like, there's gotta be tons of wildlife living there, but you barely ever see it because I'm not going out and trudging out there and sitting for hours. But so for me, it was just like, kind of like somebody just gave me this huge window into the secret world that I knew existed, but I never had access to.
Right.
I mean, you see some things, but just like, how many owls are up there? What? Yeah. Anyway.
No, fantastic. So I'm just going to, again, guys, give you her Instagram. You can find her at Meaghan on Instagram, which is MEAGAHAN, where you can also find a link to her website, which is meaghangarrahan.com. And she said that you can follow her through her website to find her prints, which is on in Darkroom. So, and we'll put links up to that in our show notes. So yeah, go check her out and follow her. And thanks again to Meaghan for a great conversation.
Yes, thank you.
And we will see you guys next time. Take care and lots of love.
Lots of love.
Kindred is hosted by me and my sister Jen, produced by Kat Gaddy and myself, sound production and editing by Dan Cooper, original music by Ellie Grace, and our Kindred artwork was created by Lindsay Coffin. Please follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and feel free to contact us through our website at kindredpodcast.co, where you can also find links to our socials, Patreon page, and show notes.